Gone,
Yeah, but Jim Williams rejoins us now, and Jim, okay, they're in a sinking ship right now, it appears. So how do they bail water out of it and come back?
You know, I would take a quick look at whatever deal I had, and if it was a heavy streaming deal, I wouldn't care, because you're not in a position of strength at all. You have to get what deal you can get your hands on. And right now, that's where you have to decide, if you are these 9 schools, if you want to stay together. And if that's the case, then you're going to have to live with whatever you've got, because this can't go on forever. You have to create a deal. You don't want to start the football season without it. And right now, you also have to have a meeting, which I guess they're having this afternoon, which is, who else is going to leave us? Are you guys still in? I'm having, Big East flashbacks here. Because it is very much like what happened in the Big East, where people were, in meetings and said, "Oh, don't worry, we're here," and you knew they were gone. So, if I don't see where they're not going to get the linear, that's never going to happen. The 50%, forget that. So if that's a problem for Arizona, Robin knows it. He's there. So it's just, to me, it's going to have to be streaming, and it's going to have to be perhaps maybe some CW stuff. Perhaps maybe you can get Fox on a really cheap deal. I don't know. But right now, it's going to be tough.
Jim, you've obviously been on the show plenty of times. We've talked about all sorts of different scenarios and storylines and all of that. When did you get a sense that it wasn't just smoke with Colorado? There was some flames starting to flicker a little bit. And this obviously moved very quickly, just within a matter of days. Just what was kind of your initial reaction once you realized what was taking place here?
Well, Monday, I had heard that things were moving in that direction. And what you guys know, you call people to find out what's going on, and nobody knows what's going on. And it's when nobody knows what's going on that scares you. And when I found out about it, I just thought, okay, this is going to, this is what is going to be a stress moment. In other words, either they can survive with 9 and add, or they're going to get, or there's going to be a jailbreak. And one way or the other, we're going to find out. And in the next 48 to 72 hours, we'll probably find out. There's no reason, if you're Arizona and you want to leave, to stay.
No, right now they can't present you with one.
No, exactly.
So, Jim, do you think there was ever a TV deal that they rejected, or has there ever really been one on paper that they felt good about even discussing?
I had heard that there were 2 scenarios here. One was an Apple and a partner, meaning a linear partner, maybe CW, maybe Fox, where they would get money, but they would not get to 50% on the linear. They could get to close, but they couldn't get to 50. I heard that there was an ESPN deal that would pay them less, give them 50% linear, but there's a significant amount of money less. And so those were the 2 deals that I heard had been presented to them. And there really wasn't any money. I'm not going to sit here and say that there was money that was passed or, money that was on there, but my guess is that they knew what the ceiling, what the floor would be on it. And the floor on the ESPN deal was incredibly, it was about 20, might have been 17. And and the Apple deal might have been, closer to what, Big 12 got. But it was, it came with the asterisk of it being a streaming deal. so that's where they were. They couldn't square that circle, and couldn't get a consensus on it. And so that's all I've heard. I mean, from that standpoint. So, look, guys. I mean, we've talked about this, and we've had a number of really good discussions with you guys, and we've always come to the conclusion that the only people that can blow this up is them. And it looks like, if there isn't a foundation crack at this point, I don't know when there's going to be. But it does put a very different, I mean, you had a bad hand to begin with, right? But this one, with Colorado leaving, puts you, you're behind the eight ball to begin with. And now what leverage do you have? You don't have any leverage.
So, Jim, when he made the comment, and I know you can't read Cleo Kaw's mind and all of that, but, when he was up there at media days, and obviously that was the straw that broke the camel's back, was that they didn't have anything to show. Colorado in particular said, okay, we're done here. But they talked about how, the longer it's gone on, the more opportunities that have arisen. And I think everybody was kind of like, what? Like, how is that even possible? So was that just speak, just to satisfy for the time being? Is like, where do you think that, what was that trying to get at exactly? Just that there are more streamers, but he didn't say the other side, which is, but it's all for less money.
I honestly, it was one of those spit take moments, right? It's like, what? Mm-hmm. The longer we wait, the better it gets. I think, Paul, you and I had this conversation last time. And that was, you asked me, I think the question was, well, now that we've gone this far, do you think that there's, a chance that, there could be somebody that came back into the picture, right? And we said exactly this thing. We said exactly this. We said, usually when you come back, right, it's like you and I and Craig waiting to buy, a boat, right? We're going to wait till the price is such that we can afford it and that we want it, right? So, people would come back, but if they're not coming back to pay you more money, they're coming back because, all right, now we might be able to get this, on the cheap.
So, with the potential to lose other members, if what Brett McMurphy just tweeted out, and that they say they get 3 teams, you lose 3 teams, is there enough that they can add to be the Pac conference anymore? Or if they lose 3 more teams, is it everybody's off the ship?
I'm sorry, what did Brett say? I didn't see it. I'm sorry.
I think we were reading it while we were trying to get connected with you. He said that, according to his sources, that the Big 12 would like to add 1 to 3 more Pac-12 schools to go along with Colorado. If they don't, if that does not happen, they'll add a group of 5 school like UConn, Memphis, San Diego State, or UNLV to reach an even number of teams in 2024. So,
and if you're a betting man, it's UConn.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jim. And that was something that Gonzaga, I was mentioning this earlier, they just completely fallen off the map entirely. And kind of it almost seems like in their place, UConn's sort of risen. And clearly we've heard, and I don't know what all you've heard, but that's obviously a Your Mark project as much as anything. I don't know that all the ADs are really all that enthralled by the idea of UConn, but Your Mark likes what he sees there and what could happen in the future. And from your perspective, what is your thoughts on UConn, why that would make sense or not, and just the whole strategy here potentially by the Big 12?
Well, actually, I tweeted that out from a story that I'd written about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, that UConn, felt that it was a matter of if not, when, not if.
Right.
They would get in. And here's the theory of the case Connecticut, University of Connecticut, has a better footprint in New York City than Rutgers. Okay. Brett Yermark is a New Yorker. He knows, that they could play in the Garden. Not every game, obviously, in the Garden, but what they could do is UConn could come and UConn would fill the Garden. And with with Baylor, with Kansas, with all the wonderful, stuff going on, can you imagine holding a Big 12 basketball tournament in the Garden or at Barclays Center in Brooklyn. It would be an amazing situation. This might be one of those cases where the commissioner, Yormark, has said, look, guys, I would like this to happen. And he's done so much for the conference that it would be very difficult for them to say, you know what, maybe we give the commissioner a commissioner's choice. And I don't know that to be a fact, guys.
Right.
I'm just saying that, if Brett Yormark wants UConn, I can assure you it's not because he just likes going to Storrs, Connecticut, because I can guarantee you that's not a lot of fun. But it is, he knows the brand. I mean, he realizes there is tremendous, he's got a basketball history. We all know that, both men and women's basketball. And in all honesty, it's not that much different football-wise in Colorado.
No, it's not, especially not recently, for sure. Jim, how does the Pac-12 keep getting in this mess? Is it hubris? They lost 3 teams in a year, and they still. It still feels to me like they haven't realized that they've lost all 3 of them.
We used hubris before, and that works. But the other thing too, guys, and this is just my observations from trying to figure out what's going on with this group, is I don't know that the presidents out there, and I'm not speaking for all of them. I'm not speaking for any of them, frankly. I'm just speaking for my guess of it, is that they just look at athletics in a whole different way than, the Big 12 does in other conferences. They are, and it's more like 5 or 6 of them. It's not all of them, but they just don't value the athletics as much as they value the academics. And so, basically they had a price. They priced themselves out of it, which is why ESPN and Fox walked away. And, at the end of the day, as I said before and started this, and we've always said it when we've been on here, that the only people who can blow it up is them, and they're doing a pretty good job of it. It's just they've had opportunities. I don't know. In some regards, I'm not saying Kliavkoff is in any way, shape, or form, absolved of everything here, but some of this, if you take your best and finals to these guys and they say, well, I'm sorry, that's not going to do it for us. Well, what's he supposed to do? So at the end of the day, and, maybe we can, the 3 of us can write a movie or a book or something and figure it out. But I guarantee you it's a matter of, you had 10 presidents who I don't think they agreed on much. I really don't. And I think at the end of the day, they can sit back and look at it and, what's Stanford going to do? Stanford's going to sit there and go, I got $8 billion literally in the bank. I don't need this. Okay. University of California. There are universities out there that, that are in the pack that value athletics, but not to the point where they're going to go to the mat and worry about it. So I know that sounds bizarre, but, that's not, I'm sure that I'm now going to get hate mail from Washington, Oregon, Utah, and pretty much everywhere else. But I just, there's a different mindset. The different mindset is, that's one part of it. The other part of it is they never, ever, ever controlled the narrative. They never did. They were never out front on anything. How do you let San Diego State, how do you go to SMU and to talk to San Diego State? You don't put San Diego State in, they get bounced to the Mountain West. And, you go and literally go to a basketball game at SMU and you hang them out to dry. So, I don't understand. I mean, if there basically was a misstep to make, they made it every time. And the amount of unforced errors, just the weight of it, I'm sure drove, Colorado crazy.
Jim, when it comes to now what's next for the Pac-12, we know that there's like emergency meetings going on, and I'd imagine that's going to take up a few hours of their evening. They're going to have to, be proactive for the first time in a long time, and that's why the Big 12 is where they are, and why the Pac-12 is where they are. Is they took two different, stances coming out of losing teams.
Right.
You lose Colorado, and there's some that are like, okay, whatever. They'll be easy to replace by SMU in the Dallas market, San Diego State in the San Diego Southern Cal market. From your standpoint, obviously TV networks aren't going to rush after they just lost another team to give them more money and that. But what's going to be the reaction, you think, of a potential TV partner to the idea of they just lost a team, but hey, no, look, we're adding San Diego State and SMU. Like, how do you think that works now? And also bearing in mind that at any moment, like, just for example, Oregon could be like, hey, we're out too. How does that work now based on the Colorado move alone?
Call Mike Oresco. I'm sure he can tell you.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't help because the first thing I'm going to ask is, look, guys, there's a lot of attractive, teams here. Okay. You can make a case that Oregon, Washington, Utah, and even though Stanford's had some bad years, Stanford isn't a bad school. So you've got some teams there with value. Arizona State at the moment is still there. So you can make that case. But the case I'm going to ask you is, I want to know, if we put this together, are these guys going to be here, by the time the ink dries on the contract?
Well, Jim, yeah. Jim, what do you see as you said 48 to 72 hours. What do you, in your opinion, of covering this for a year now, are the most likely options for the Big 12?
Well, and this is a huge if the 9 teams stay together, then they can add 2 or 3, and I would add 3 or 4 just to make sure, to backfill. And then you go and you as I say, you're basically, you look at what the best offer on the table is, and you take it because you just can't. You need to get some positive press, and adding teams and grabbing a contract is about the best possible way you've got at this point. And look, you said it. They're not dealing from strength. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Well, Jim, thank you so much for jumping on with us. Always enjoy talking to you, and we will be talking again soon, I'm sure.
Are you like everybody else who's been talking about this and our various other friends we made along the way and guests, of like a sense of relief in some? I mean, I know you're not rooting for anybody and all that, and technically we aren't either, but just to see something tangible happen, was it kind of a relief in so many ways following realignment?
It was. I mean, today was a kind of a busy day, but other than that, it's look, I think that the closer we get to playing football, the happier all of us will be.
Yeah.
And, and if this was going to happen, I mean, come on, you guys know, and I know, it was dangling out there for a long time that the possibility would happen. And so I guess the probability of it happening and it happening, made things that got real. Things got real fast. And I think that hopefully we can get back to normal here in the not too distant future. You're going to go off to a vacation, so good on you, buddy. Leaving us here to hold fort. But no, seriously, guys, it's I think the next 72 hours are big because at that point somebody's going to have a come to Jesus moment as to what is going on with the conference. And those conversations, having going back to the Big East situation, they're not comfortable. They're not going to be comfortable at all because it's going to be knives out. We're going to, it's going to be who's in and who's out, and who's lying to us and who's not.
Oh boy,
it gets ugly. I mean, I can remember back at the Big East situation. Man, there are people who still don't talk to each other in that Big East situation.
That's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been 10 years, 13 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's again, there are guys from different universities who just literally were friends forever, and now they're not. So it's it gets ugly, and I think over the next 72 hours it's going to get ugly in the pack. But at the end of those 72 hours, they either are going to know, are we a 9 group or are we a 7 or where are we? So stay tuned, folks. Keep the seatbelt buckled.
Jim Williams with us.
Guys, it's always a pleasure. Frank, have a fun vacation, bud.
Hey, thank you, Jim. Appreciate you.
Jim Williams, Forbes columnist, regular contributor to the show, media consultant. He's been in the business for a long time, covered a lot of things, and has been great for us here on the show.
Yeah, he's been on this journey with us throughout the last